Welcome, extremist victims. I'm Andy,
And I'm Mike.
and today we continue our road to Infinity War, where we'll be discussing our last Iron Man movie.
And quite possibly the most divisive movie of the MCU.
I have to agree. We
In
are
other words,
beginning.
it's the last Jedi of the MCU.
No, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that in a second. But pretty much the start of Phase 2 wasn't great, quite honestly. No matter what you thought about the movies, it really started to have a slow up. So let's start with what worked about the movie.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. Once again shines. I mean, he's always great in these movies.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of the we've taken him for granted portion of this, that he is really good about this movie. The thing about Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in this movie is that it finally gave the fans what they didn't know that they wanted, unless they were like me and were very, very verbal about it to begin with. It's the first superhero movie where you want to see the alter ego more than you want to see the actual superhero.
Yeah.
And in this, they gave it to you. There is about 90% Tony Stark in this Iron Man movie.
This one, I think, more than any movie that's come before it, kind of shows you the consequences of the superhero lifestyle.
Yeah. The fact that I thought they handled his post-traumatic stress of, entering a intergalactic gateway and almost dying, very, very well. I liked that it really weighed on him, and that no amount of hero worship now was going to help him with that.
And not only that, but him kind of obsessively making all these different armors that he would even control it without being inside it, because he wanted to protect it. It actually kind of leads into Avengers: Age of Ultron. He wants to protect everyone,
right? Not just through the one suit of armor, but like a suit of armor for around the world.
Yeah.
I thought Don Cheadle was well better used in this one than he was in the second one.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic in this one.
I mean, what I liked was that they did ditch the Iron Patriot thing. It was a ridiculous thing to begin with, and they kept making fun of him throughout the entire movie.
War Machine rocks, all caps lock with 3 X's.
That was great. No, Don Cheadle is so good at delivering subtle humor and just making it just seem like a natural conversation.
I love how he wasn't even looking at it. The guy chuckled. Suddenly the camera just turned and pointed at him.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
I enjoyed that there is definitely a Tony needs to rediscover his own abilities. And there's a lot of that where he essentially has to go to Home Depot and create his own Iron Man suit out of spare parts and propane tanks and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
To infiltrate Guy Pearce's lair.
The Mandarin.
All right. Okay, you know what? I actually think this is something that works about the movie. Its divisiveness, I think, works in this movie. Here's the thing, and you brought this up about it's the last Jedi of the MCU movies. I can't agree completely with that, because I believe, and I went back and I watched the Jeremy Jahns review of this one, and he was like, you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, and guess what? Neither of you will be wrong. And I completely agree with that. This is a kind of movie I can understand why people don't like it, because it isn't much of a superhero movie, because it's more of a personal story following the biggest fucking superhero movie ever made.
Well, but a lot of, you know what? I'm not sure if we should handle this now, like in the part we liked and the part we didn't like, because it's kind of in the middle of both.
I think it works because it allows us, as fans of film, as fans of superhero movies, to have a well thought out discussion about this. Nobody who didn't like this movie claims that it ruined the entire thing and that everything else is a waste of time now because Iron Man 3 wasn't good, in my opinion.
That is true.
I happen to like the movie a lot.
No, I do as well. No, what I'm talking about is kind of like in the middle is their whole concept of the Mandarin with Ben Kingsley.
All right. That would definitely be a middle, not works, not doesn't work, because I feel that I do feel that it just doesn't work on some things, but I like the did you hear that little beeping?
Yeah.
My fries are up. So so yeah, I apologize everyone who's watching this because we do get lots of views now. Woo. Yeah, no, my dryer just went off, so yay, I'll have warm comforters for this cold night.
Yay.
The thing with Ben Kingsley is I liked what he did with it. I really like what he did with it. Now, comic book fans be damned on this one. You can't have the Mandarin the way the Mandarin was originally done. Not in this day and age.
You know what? I actually disagree with that because I think with how the MCU has grown and developed, I think now it is perfectly logistic. They have a guy with 10 rings that gives them all different powers. Back then, maybe not so much, but I think the MCU has gotten big enough and kind of out there enough that it could be done now.
That's not the part I'm talking about. I'm kind of talking the chickadee China, the Chinese chicken part.
Oh, well, yeah, no. That was racist when they made him.
Exactly. And why you'll never see Fin Fang Foom in one of these MCU movies.
Yeah, he was right up there with Charlie Chan.
Yep. Somebody put some underpants on that dragon. Yeah.
I can.
But what he did, what Ben Kingsley brought to the character, I really, really loved. And if you completely exclude the one-off that they did, that kind of explains
there
that
is a
he's
Mandarin.
not really a Mandarin. Spoilers.
I can understand why people felt kind of like it kind of felt almost bait and switchy to some people. Me, I thought it was I saw it as a plot twist, and I mean when he started breaking into his drunken English accent,
No,
I was bawling laughing.
You in there? I thought it definitely kind of threw me for a loop, even though I saw the movie so late in its release, mainly because the week it came out, my son was born, so I had no time for movies.
I'm still not sure why you didn't name him Tony.
I wasn't going to name him Tony. That was my grandfather's name. But yeah, I mean that really straddles that knife's edge. There's a lot of things in this movie that don't exactly not work, but they straddle that fine line. And it's tough to really qualify because Guy Pearce is a great actor. I had to remind myself he's the big bad in the movie.
To be fair, I think a lot of that comes from the new director that they got for this movie.
Shane Black was a very good choice for this movie. It's tonally he runs on a different series of cylinders than Jon Favreau does, and it shows. It definitely shows. Apart from the fact that yes, the movie is indeed takes place at Christmas time. Shane Black.
I think the complaint that a lot of people have is that it feels more like a Shane Black movie and less like a Marvel movie, which I can definitely see.
Right. It's kind of tough to say because it is, at the end of the day, it's a Marvel movie. Every director gets to have a little bit of their own voice in there, which is why...
Which we'll be getting to in a couple weeks or so.
Actually, starting with, not next week, but the week after, we're going to start seeing the directors. Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say Guardians of the Galaxy is the first one that really hits.
I was going to go with Winter Soldier because it's the Russo brothers and they rock.
Yeah, but that was also their very first movie.
That's true. Anyway, we're back to Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
There were certain things, and all right, let's go to what doesn't work about this movie. There are certain things about Pepper Potts' character in this movie I did not like, partly because I felt she was kind of underutilized to begin with. And when they did decide to give her like these big, awesome moments of putting her in a suit and all that, they were just so underwhelming.
I like what they did with her. It's just like she was there, and then she was gone for for a good hour of the movie, and then she comes back in a spectacular fashion.
Right, exactly, because she was infected with the extremis thing, which was, turning her into an electric being.
Being, really.
Yeah, fire being, which is never, it was just so movie tropey, explaining kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of out of left field for that one.
Because the extremis armor is a really cool thing, and they kind of touched on it a lot, made some jokes about it in this movie, but never really fully committed to it.
Yeah, by like implanting those like little sensors in all of his hands.
Yeah,
all of his all under his skin. That it kind of it's kind of extremis-esque.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the actual extremis armor would have been a bit more expensive.
I agree. And then you don't have your fire baddie.
Yeah, which I mean, another thing that doesn't really work for me. Guy Pearce. He's
so out of place in this movie.
I mean, when you first see him, he's this little nebbish, and then he is.
Well, and part of that is because the extremists worked for him. A lot like a lot of the like the amputees that he was enlisting, like the military amputees that were going in and fighting his battles because they had the extremists in them as well.
Right.
But yeah, at the end of the day, he just turned into one of these nondescript bad guys. I mean, he's very similar to someone like, we all know that Loki is the main bad guy in Thor, but who was really the bad guy in Thor was Laufey.
Yeah.
And then next week when we talk about it again, it's the same thing. Who's the real bad guy in that one? The elf that Christopher Eccleston played.
Malekith.
Malekith. Hey, thank you. You're gonna have to remind me of that next week. I don't know. I mean, I do like this movie an awful lot. It doesn't bear massive repeat viewings.
No, I mean, honestly, I would watch it just to see Robert Downey Jr. and Don Cheadle interacting.
Right.
Because those were my favorite scenes, because those two are just off the roof chemistry.
I do have another thing that doesn't work in this movie, and that's the friggin' end of the movie. The reason why is because it really looks like he's hanging up the armor.
Oh, yeah.
Surgery finally gets the things out. He doesn't need to have the arc reactor core in his chest anymore. He's like, he blew up all the suits of armor, and now he's starting fresh. And it's like, oh, wow, this is a new, fresh start for Tony.
And the next time you see him, armored up.
2 years later, you see him armored up again.
Yeah. I think it was pretty much that, Shane Black did the ending he wanted to, and then Feige was like, yeah, let's ignore that.
Yeah, how about that? And we'll make it all a story at the end of the movie, and we'll get Mark Ruffalo in.
I did like that post-credit. That was fun.
You know what the funny thing about that post-credit is? If you read the trivia for IMDb, his appearance as Bruce Banner in that officially made him the longest performing Bruce Banner in movie history.
Yeah. Well, unless you count TV movies.
What's that?
Unless you count TV movies.
We don't count those. Okay. Nobody counts those as real movies. All in all, how do you think this holds up in the grand scheme of the MCU?
It's my second favorite Iron Man movie. I think overall it's still on the lower side for me. I enjoy it, but like you said, it doesn't really. It's not something that you like. You know what? It's raining outside. I got nothing to do today. Let's watch Iron Man 3.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the few movies that I own just the Blu-ray for, and not like any of the other stuff. Like I don't have a spare DVD of it. I don't have a digital copy of it unless I go through Showbox. So,
which of course you would never ever do, right?
No, that's theft, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. The actions in that movie don't impact anything that happened. I mean, there are impacts from the Avengers that carried into Iron Man 3, but none of the impacts of Iron Man 3 carry into Thor, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, or its final resting ground, which is Age of Ultron.
You're right, and hell, in fact, even in Age of Ultron, they ditched the Iron Patriot outfit and for back to the regular War Machine. So
exactly.
So I mean, really, this movie. I mean, unless they do something really different in Phase 4, this movie has very little consequence for anything in the MCU.
Exactly. It doesn't even introduce an Infinity Stone.
No.
Which we'll return to next week when we talk about a movie that does influence an Infinity Stone.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, we've already let it slide then. Our next one is going to be Thor: The Dark World. Another nobody's favorite in the MCEU.
Yeah,
MCU.
Yeah. It's not even the DCEU either.
I don't get that.
It's just yeah.
Wait, it's the DC Extended Universe? How the hell is that possible?
I believe a lot of people are calling it the DCFU. The DC Film Universe.
It's not like you're trying to remove a mustache, man. It's not like you're trying to remove a mustache. So anyway, yes, that's right. Next week we are talking all about Thor: The Dark World. So if you have any thoughts about Iron Man 3 that you think we missed, which probably are plenty, is it your favorite? Do you not like it all that much? Please comment below. Don't forget to give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to Geek Salad. Yeah! Also, we'll check out next week, but until then, don't forget, we get shows on Podbean, on the Podbean app at geeksalad.podbean.com. You can also check out those shows on Stitcher and iTunes as well. Mike, how are we doing with our movies of 1981 show?
Yeah, we're going slow but good. There are a lot of movies from 1981.
Yes. There are a lot of movies in 1981. So, so don't forget to check out our podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and Excelsior!